But today, we start with a primetime Chicago exclusive. The Tony Award-winning theater production Wicked recently reached a milestone when it turned out its 1,000th performance at the Ford Oriental Theater here in Chicago. Our own Paul Lisnek recently stopped by and talked with the two lead witches from this smash Broadway hit, Dee Roscioli and Erin Mackey.
Well, I am sitting here with Dee Roscioli, or actually better known as Elphaba, and Erin Mackey, better known as Glinda, or maybe Galinda.
Wow.
We go through a change. We'll talk about that. And they are the stars of Wicked, one of the stars of Broadway in Chicago. Probably it is the biggest show ever here in Chicago. And ladies, thanks for spending some time with me.
Sure.
Well, you both play witches, and you know, growing up, and you were little girls at one time, people were always afraid of witches and didn't want to be witches, and now you are. What do you think? I mean, are we casting a new light on what it means to be a witch?
I think, yeah, maybe. I think this show has definitely made it interesting, put an interesting spin on the witch and the Wicked Witch and Glinda, and it's made it more appealing for, I think, young girls.
The truth is, and Dee, I have to say, the truth is, for me, your Elphaba role, I mean, you're not a wicked witch. I mean, you're called the Wicked Witch.
Right.
You're probably, as Glinda might say, the goodest person in the show.
Yeah. Well, I think she cares about morality and ethics, and because of that, I think she gets a bad rap.
To be popular, I'll help you be popular. You'll hang with the right cohorts. You'll be good at sports. Know the slang you've got to know.
Neither of you were sort of new to Wicked before you stepped in your roles. You had been a part. In fact, Erin, you had a really interesting way to get here.
Well, yeah, I was on my summer break from college after my freshman year, and I auditioned for Wicked up in LA because I live in California. I ended up getting cast on the tour as a swing in the ensemble. And so I did that for 7 months, and then I came to Chicago. And I started understudying Glinda and playing in the ensemble. And then over a year ago, I just took over for Glinda in October of last year.
What do you like most about being Glinda? You're the good witch, so you come in as the popular one, but she's kind of ditzy.
Yeah, you know, and the fun thing about Glinda is the journey she gets to take. I mean, from the place that she starts and where she ends, she's just two different people, and it's because of this woman, you know? And so I think that's the most exciting part of getting to play Glinda every night, is just starting in one place and ending in a completely different place.
And do you walk through a real metamorphosis with Elphaba? I mean, she comes on and it even opens, we see the shadow of the Wicked Witch in the back. We're ready for this scary figure.
That's a hard question for me because she is so close to me and who I really am, and I feel like a lot of her decisions that she makes in the show I can completely identify with.
Did this develop, and you understudied this role? Talk to me a little bit about your role or your path to this role now.
Well, I auditioned in New York because that's where I was living, and I was working in a restaurant, and I was working like 2 or 3 jobs, and you know, I lived in a teeny apartment, I lived on the couch, and I was just...
It's everything we always read about, right?
It really is, and it's so cliche, but it's so true. And I got the opportunity through my agents to audition for this. I went in like 6 times, and then ended up landing the standby, which I couldn't believe actually happened for me. It was just, it literally was like a light, and I just, a weight lifted, and I just felt so good to tell my parents, you know. It was, you know, wonderful getting the standby, and I mean, I was a standby for Christy Cates.
And that's what I want to ask you. Didn't you kind of hope when you were sitting there that, you know, maybe just a little, not a serious break in the leg, maybe, you know, like a little cold.
No.
Just something.
No.
No?
No.
There is an emotion that comes across to the audience in the harmonies that you hit throughout that just is a powerful part of the show.
Yeah, the music actually is just, I mean, when you sit back, I had the fortune to sit back and watch the show like maybe like a month or so ago, and it really, the music fits the show perfectly. It just all the interludes and everything and the way it's written, it creates a mood throughout the show.
We're just 2 friends, 2 good friends.
We've just passed the 1,000th show, a performance of Wicked here in Chicago. The 3rd year begins just a little bit later in the year, in April, and over 2 million people have seen the show. And 50 states, 18 different countries, everybody's coming to see the show. Why?
There's so many things about this show. I mean,
it's the story. I think that people can identify with this story. It's a very human story. It's about, people coming together and we all have differences, and it's kind of looking past those differences and looking into people's souls that I think people really identify with.
These two ladies are quite talented, and Wicked is worth seeing with the whole family. Gives you another side to that whole story. We're going to continue our conversation with Dee and Aaron on the next edition of Primetime Chicago. But if you want to see them live on stage before then, you can get tickets by contacting Broadway in Chicago at 312-977-1700 or log on to their website at BroadwayInChicago.com.